My name is Juan Schlosser, and I founded a company called BioBuild. And essentially this company came about a life work of dedicated to architecture. So that also brings the insulation. My background is actually not necessarily coming from architecture. I come from arts, right? So I started really young to play with different arts, with different expressions, because my father was an artist, a very renowned artist in Spain. So he was actually using bamboo to do sculptures. So I grew up with this seeing all these structural, very geometric sort of forms and shapes. So that's how I really was introduced to the whole world of creating stuff with particularly bamboo. And then I studied arts, and then from arts actually I started to do festival installations. Festivals are really interesting to me because they're also like a ephemeral community, and in festivals you can explore a lots of different forms and shapes. There's a very experimental ground where you can create many different forms and many different things that normally you would actually not do in traditional architecture. I worked only on the architectural design approach, and then that led me to really be very focused on the whole concept of eco-village and community design, and how you design and create for this type of developments, which in my mind they are like a way to create a sustainable form of development is the way of community design and eco-village. So it's a way of integration into the natural environment versus what you do with cityscapes, which is about to sort of like destroy an environment and you impose a human man-made design. So I was fascinated about this idea of community design because you can integrate a human settlement into a natural ecosystem. So I did a lot of master plans for New Earth project doing this type of community design and work with different teams and different people. Well, one of the things that really attracted me about the project, and this will go back to my background, is that it's an eco-village. It's an eco-village here in Indonesia. It's also run by a company that already have a lot of experience doing development. So I trust that you guys are going to be able to deliver everything here, and the fact that it is about an eco-village and it is in a very natural setup and in a very beautiful place, I think is a project where I can really contribute with my specialized sort of architectural design approach in the community and eco-village arena. So one of the reasons as well what I thought was very interesting to me is because the word mandala. Like, I've always been fascinated about mandalas, and lots of our designs actually are mandalas. Right. So one of the systems that we would like to pioneer with your project is a modular system that we've been working for many years, and we developed specifically for trying to deliver large development, community developments and eco developments, eco-village developments, is what we call the BioBuild modular system. So this modular system is basically trying to resolve some of the issues that you see in conventional eco and sustainable construction, which is that lots of things are done in situ, in place, and they are very labor intensive, and you need a very specialized sort of like set of workers that can really create a lot of this complex joinery that happens when you use materials like bamboo. So we try to resolve that with technology, by actually creating a very high-tech hub connection system that will allow us to essentially build these structural members and all the structural systems, like simply ensembling structural components, like in a very similar way that you build a geodesic dome. So they are what we call membrane structures. There's structures which is a structural membrane that is constructed by sections, and then you can assemble them very quickly, and they are highly structural. They have high structural efficiency because it's a structural membrane, so you can minimize the use of material and create a very long spans, very large spaces by using a very small amount of materials. So when it comes to sustainability, in my mind, it's all about the use of materials. So we are using sustainable materials for the construction of these structures, but it also has to do with efficiency. Like if you take too long in building a structure, obviously it's going to be more labor intensive. It's going to consume more resources. So this is just some of the things that we are trying to implement with this system, and we would like to implement in the Mandala project. Well, I gotta say, like lots of architects are inspired by other architects. Most of my inspiration doesn't come from architects, but from scientists. So I have the honor to work with a very relatively known scientist on the on the alternative science arena, which is Thomas Brown. He's actually one of my partners, and the science that he developed has to do about life. It's about life energy. So a lot about sustainability has to do with the narrow focus on what's sustainable, what's not good for the environment. But when you embrace the field of life force, the life energies, and you incorporate that into architecture, sustainability becomes a much more broad idea, which is not just about sustainability of nature, but also about the sustainability of the people who are living in those spaces, like how the buildings are affecting their health, how they are affecting their consciousness, their well-being. So that, in my mind, is also part of sustainability. So in that respect, there's other scientists that also have tapped into this scientific approach of life energy and life forces, which are, for example, like Dan Winter, which is also our partner in BioArc and an old friend already for 10 years. So he's one of our consultants. He's actually an electronic engineer. So he's looking at a building like an electrical component that taps into the earth, and it causes an electric field, creates an energy pattern that affects health in different ways, and you can measure these things with instruments and things like that. So he developed a lot of the science that has to do with this whole field of what we call bioarchitecture, and we sort of like implementing it and bringing it forward as well. So yeah, it's really a lot of my inspiration comes from scientific minds more than purely designers. I'm the one who implements the science in bioarchitecture. One of the very few actually who really use this field of bioarchitecture and really implement it into real projects. Yeah, I think one of the most interesting virtues of communities is that I think they're gonna become one of the systems that people are gonna choose to live in the future. One of the human settlements is like we have cities, we have villages. There's this new phenomena we call Eco-Village, right? And I think that's where the true expression of full spectrum sustainability can really be achieved. Because then that framework really will allow that to emerge of like really having true sustainability in all aspects, social aspects, in the design of of the entire community architectonically, how it integrates with nature. That holistic design approach can be really implemented in that community framework that we're exploring here. There is lots of communities are emerging throughout the world, and they're all social experiments. And I think is one very interesting phenomenon that we are creating right now as a human society, of like really birth these eco-villages and really what they represent, also as totally decentralized entities that decentralize everything, from transportation to food to energy. You can create something that is totally autonomous, where people have their own freedom and their own ability to actually coexist in symbiosis with nature, let's say, and not really depending from anything external. I think that self-efficient decentralized model is what we're exploring here with community development. So yeah, my definition of sustainability is very broad. Like the idea of sustainability is, if we think about it, is about something that can thrive, right? That can be sustained for a long period of time. So when we apply that to an eco-village, there's so many things that are that we need to take in consideration in order to create that sustainable sort of state of being, right? Where there's so many aspects, like social, economical, the buildings themselves. But I always think about this idea of like how we go beyond sustainability, and especially when it comes to architectural development, which is this idea of like it's not just about minimizing the footprint of the building when it comes to architecture, but also how we can become regenerative. Like that's where the full spectrum sustainability comes about, when we are able to create a regenerative effect in the environment with all the human activities.